tell us about how it was to live in New York. I'm really curious about how that was. And like how does different places shape how you formulate your business? You know, because New York and the Bay Area and Denver and probably Australia all have different like laws and ways of doing business as far as like what
Yeah.
you provide. So that'd be really interesting to talk about, I think, with everybody, to know like what spaces are like how does the space in turn affect how you run your business?
It's funny, Imani, because so when I left New York in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
right? 2009, to move to San Francisco, there was no technology scene, there was no startup scene in New York. I mean, really zero. I'm sure there was a few here and there, but there was really no tech scene. And then fast forward to 2017, when my family and I returned to New York, all of a sudden New York was this burgeoning hub of tech. And really, I think it's probably, well, I know it's second only to the Bay Area in terms of the level of investment, number of employees working in tech. And in terms of sheer volume, I expect it to surpass the Bay Area pretty soon. Everything now notwithstanding, I think no matter what, New York is going to become the center for tech in the United States and probably all of North America. Um, and it's ironic because the Bay Area, as much of as endemic as startup lifestyle is to the Bay, it's really actually not the best place to start a business in a lot of ways. So my first company, Stride, they actually their CEO, my original co-founder, he actually just picked up and left and moved to Austin, Texas, because he found it, as many other founders do in the Bay, just to be too expensive, too competitive for talent, and it's just impossible to actually scale an early stage startup. So I think the Bay Area is losing its luster pretty quickly from a lot of different perspectives. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow something, it's not a very friendly business environment, other than the fact that you obviously have easy access to people and to investors and advisors, and certainly you have that community, but the community can be found anywhere now. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the old adage of only being able to start something in certain places, that notion has completely been squashed. And I think with everything we're going through with COVID, it's only going to become more mainstream to have one founder in New York, another founder in Mexico, and another founder in London. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
See, I like that a lot because I there was my parents had a childhood friend that went to the high school that I graduated from, and he actually spoke at the high school, and it was just a really funny experience. But he actually said that currently Colorado, specifically Colorado Springs, because that's where I'm like living right now, but Denver, like Colorado in general, is one of the best places to do startups because it's so cheap relative to like New York or the Bay Area
Mhm.
to start up and actually have that community that provides a way for entrepreneurship, especially in the tech industry, because you have Schriever, you have Peterson. As far as Colorado Springs go, like all the military bases here, so you can have those connections if you want to go into something tech but also military. So it was just a really interesting way to think about it, the way that as far as like whatever you want to go to doesn't have to depend anymore on if you're on a coast. It's just like wherever you can find those people.
Yeah. And I think that's absolutely true. And I think more and more investors, even in the Bay Area, they're looking elsewhere for their deals, because everything is saturated on both the founder side and on the VC side. Everything in the Bay Area, even to an extent here in New York, everything is so saturated. So when VCs want to, I mean, because it's obviously a two-way street, and VCs are
Mm-hmm.
seeking out new deals and new partnerships, the same as they're being sought out by founders. They're having to look outside of their states. So I mean, I know a lot of funds that once or twice a year they have these missions to other states, and they literally spend 2 weeks and they do a deep dive into that state in terms of the ecosystem and what's happening in startups and tech. And they meet founders and they meet incubators, and they just understand what's happening, because they can, on the selfish side for VCs, they can probably get much better terms. If I'm a big Bay Area investor and I come to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or I go to Omaha,
Mm-hmm.
or I go to whatever it is, then sometimes founders, they're willing to give more of their company away because they're getting an investor from a region that has, for better or for worse, gotten lots of press and lots of importance
Coverage.
on
Yeah.
the Bay. So I think it's just the relationship between the hub being the Bay Area and New York, and then the spokes being these secondary cities. I think that dynamic is going to be interesting to watch the next 5-10 years.
So yeah, I'm gonna let the one person in because it is 12:09, and I'll just let them in, and you
Yeah,
can just filter through your spiel after I do my small one. But yeah, right now we only really have one person, so I'm just gonna let them in and have you talk to them and everything, and then after that we should be good to go.
yeah, great.
Okay. So hello everyone, this is Amani from Project Xite. I am a project coordinator, and I am just here with Jared, who is running Wildebeest, and he will just be having a one-on-one talking with everyone in the chat about like his business and like questions about the travel industry and things like that. And you can just leave all your questions in the chat, and you can show your face if you want to. However, outside of that, we're just going to be here until you guys run out of questions for him. Just letting you guys know, this is recording, so if you guys don't take down all the notes, you guys can come back later to our project Xite website. That's a lot to say. And you can find the video again and see what is up there, but I'm going to give it over to Jared to introduce himself.
Good. Thanks, Amani, and thanks for having me. So I guess just in terms of context about myself, so I graduated from DU in 2002. I'm not quite that old. I entered in 1998, was there till 2002, studied international business at Daniels back before the new Daniels building was even built, just to age myself a bit more. So anyway, love my time at DU. My parents are also both alumni. Out of my entire graduating class in high school of 300 some odd people, I actually went to the furthest for college than anyone else in my entire class. So people heard that I was going to Colorado, and they kind of did a double take because everyone else basically stayed on the East Coast between New York and Florida, and then sort of the Northeast corridor. So yeah, I truly valued my time at DU, and I've been back there quite a few times since. I lived there in Denver post-college for a number of years, and then went back. My last time there was now going on 3 years, actually, so I'm sure the campus looks entirely different. But anyway, really happy to be here. I'm a big fan of what's happening over there in Denver in terms of both at the campus level and just the technology scene and the startup scene that's been really flourishing for probably the better part of the last decade. So quickly, I guess my background, I've been in marketing really as my functional expertise, and I've been in marketing for 15 plus years. Started on the agency side in New York, and then bounced around to various places, went client side and travel. And so travel in terms of a industry has been my focus for the past decade plus. So in travel, I've held numerous roles in marketing for tour operators, for online travel technology companies. And then most recently, I pivoted back and actually launched a marketing agency of my own, along with my co-founder here in New York, that's called Wildebeest. So Wildebeest is a digital strategy and brand marketing agency that's focused on growing any brands that are in the travel and technology and tourism space. So for us, it's an interesting time, as you can imagine, with the crisis that's really been happening over the past 3 months in various places in the world, and just how we think about growth and marketing and outreach during a time of crisis. So we wish we had all the answers. We don't, no one does, but we're trying to give as much guidance to our own clients as we possibly can in terms of what the landscape might look like and both on the technology side for founders who might be looking for fresh funding or thinking about how they partner with enterprise companies during this time. And then also really just to anyone in the industry who's trying to understand how do they market in a sensitive way, without insulting people and without trying to sell something necessarily during a time when, let's face it, there's not a lot of commerce actually happening. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I also founded another company about what was this, 2017? Nope, that's wrong. 2015, called Stride Travel with my co-founder Gavin Delaney. And Stride is a meta search marketplace for multi-day tours. So it's a lot of fancy words. All it really is a if you've ever bought a flight on Kayak, if you've ever done a search, that's called meta search. So the idea is that you're searching a lot of different suppliers to get, in the case of Kayak, a price for your flight. So we took that meta search model and we applied it to any sort of multi-day adventure travel package. So if you wanted to go to Peru and hike the Inca Trail, if you wanted to go on a backpacking trip around Southeast Asia in a group, any sort of group tour package that you would buy online, we took all of that supply, and then we gave travelers an easy way to find and search and read reviews on these amazing trips all over the world. So stridetravel.com is the website, still up and running. I'm now an advisor, and they are now based in Austin, Texas.
That's great. So thank you for giving us like that great starter. First, just letting Robert, if you want to, you can hop on video since you're really the only other person here, and chat with Jared and have his questions. But first off, I would like to know, what is your take on Denver's tech and innovation ecosystem, and kind of like how do you feel about like that going on right now, and how does that influence decisions with your business, or how does that compare to New York where you are now?
So I must admit, my knowledge on the Denver tech scene really starts and ends with Project Excite. So that's why I've been involved, because I see that organization as my connector to the DU ecosystem and to the greater Denver tech and Colorado tech ecosystem. I do know, just I guess in my own little world of travel technology, I do know a fair few companies that are based in Denver, and they've grown their teams to many hundreds of people. So I do know, just sort of not related to the campus itself, but as a city as a whole, I do know that the tech scene has flourished in the past decade, and really it's now on par, I would say, with other cities like Austin and Boston, even in Massachusetts. So I think what's happened there is tremendous. I'm really excited because it has a very soft and special place in my heart as a city. And I think, comparing it to New York is probably unfair, but I think that there's going to be a lot of cross-pollination in a lot of ways, meaning lots of people who are currently working in New York, for whatever reason, might look to relocate. And if you're working in tech in New York, one of the cities you might look at now is Denver, where 5 years ago, it probably wouldn't have been on your radar. So I think as Denver, what's the saying, the rising tide raises all ships. So as Denver continues to rise in the notoriety, I think that will only encourage more people to move out there. So you have the circular effect of both raising that profile in the larger macro tech world, which will then make, both the employment scene and just the talent that much more high quality. So yeah, no, I think what's happening there is tremendous.
That's great. So I think you are spot on with that. Like I mentioned to you before, we have the whole system of military here. So that's another reason why a lot of people move out here, is because we have a lot of military, and then just like a lot of our laws allow for growth. But for our next question, we have, for those in the travel industry, what kind of pivots do you think are necessary for people to make right now, since we are in this pandemic and it's really affecting everything that we know is to be true for our lifestyle?
Yeah, it's a really great question. It's also a big question. We could probably spend an hour just on that, but I know we can't, so I'll try and be succinct. Travel is one of the world's largest economic drivers, and to some extent, that's always been known. And I think right now, though, every single person on earth is seeing the impact of that, and every single person is seeing why that statement's true. Nothing happens without travel. Nothing happens without the airlines. Oh, did we just lose connection? Hello? I think it's just me and Robert now.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Well, hi, Robert.
Hi, nice to meet you.
How are you? Nice to meet you. What's going on?
No, I was just looking into what you've done, and it's just so you went to school for marketing, right?
I majored in international business, but then quickly after I became a marketer. Yeah.
And so that's kind of how you jumped onto the whole travel agency, and then you went from there to what you're doing now, which is, I'm assuming, what you really wanted to do, which was marketing, right?
Well, yeah, so I never really worked at a travel agency per se. I mean, what you call them is kind of irrelevant, but I've always been a marketer, and I've actually always been careful to position myself as like a marketing guy and not a travel guy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in travel who they position themselves as, oh, well, I work in travel, but then during times like this, they're finding it rough because they don't really have any functional skill sets. They're just an expert in an industry.
Sure.
So yeah, I've always been very careful to say that I'm a marketer. I've even worked outside of the travel business. So, but yeah, so I started my career though on the ad agency side, and I left advertising because I never really enjoyed the products that I was trying to sell. Because when you work at a big agency, you're just told that you're going to be working on a piece of business for whatever client, and you don't really get much of a say over that, especially when you're very junior like I was. So I always loved travel, just personally, it was my passion. I've traveled a lot in my life. I'm very lucky to have done that. And in my mind, it has a lot of people think when they're trying to make the jump into the travel business, I was saying, how can I take my marketing and advertising background and use that in travel? And at this point, I was in my, I don't know, early 20s, mid 20s, and I didn't even know what the travel business was. So I was lucky enough to find a job at an adventure travel company called Intrepid. And Intrepid is really the world's largest adventure travel company. So they take hundreds of thousands of people on small group adventure type trips all over the world. So I was the head of marketing there in the US for about 5 years. And then after that is when I kind of went to the technology side, and I co-founded my first company, Stride. And then from there, I've had more of a tech angle to what I was doing, but I've always been in a marketing role.
Gotcha. So I was just curious, how did you come up with the name Wildebeest?
a lot of pain. No, I mean, we spent a lot of time on it. My co-founder Tom and I, we spent many weeks on it, and we had a running list of probably 75 names. And naming and branding is so tough, and you're never really fully satisfied. If I had to be honest, I think there's always in the back of your mind, oh, should I have gone with that? Should I have maybe gone a different direction? But there's of course agencies, there's branding agencies, that's all they do is naming. So it's big business. So we wanted something that was powerful, memorable, where the website was available, which actually drives a lot of the decision making around naming these days, because there's so few domains, at least at the .com, that are actually available for less than $25,000. So that actually played a lot into it, and we just wanted something that had a nod to travel and to that industry, since that's where our clientele are playing, but nothing that made us look like a travel. We didn't want to position ourselves as an agency only for travel, which in hindsight was a great decision given everything happening now in the industry. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of time spent running it by people and talking to people that we trust and understanding what the options were.
Yeah. Okay. That kind of led me to another question is like, I just quickly tried Googling your company, right? Just Wildebeest. First thing that came up was an actual Wildebeest, right?
Yeah.
But then there's another company that came after that, which was a software company. And then came yours. So I'm trying to understand is how do you build from a company that nobody really knows to look for you unless they know about you.
Yep.
Right? How do you build that clientele?
You're absolutely right, man. And you hit at the heart of what we do as well, which is SEO and organic search marketing for our clients. So it's a very astute and accurate observation you make. So I guess two things. So one is we just launched the company back in the end of January. So we've been live for about really 3 months, and then we got hit with COVID-19. So it's an interesting time to launch a travel company. Second is we always had the plan for the short term, meaning probably a year plus, and now that timeline has probably been held back by at least that long. But the plan was always to have our growth be organic, meaning by referral and word of mouth, because it is a pretty, as large as the travel industry is, it's still a small industry, at least in North America. In the circles that we run in, meaning the travel technology circles, the tour operator circle, everyone kind of knows each other. So you find an agency, you find a marketing vendor, a partner that you trust, and that gets you the results, and you start telling everyone about it. So we always intended that people would find us because of either our own outreach and our biz dev activity or by word of mouth. We didn't actually anticipate that many people would start to search Wildebeest, because obviously, yes, we don't have high brand recognition yet. And Wildebeest is not a term that we own. It's of course the animal, as you very accurately saw. But I think the fact that we're already, as a 3-month-old company, that we're ranking number 3, that's not bad. It'd be nice to get to the top, but I think obviously we're never going to be number 1 for obvious reasons.
Okay.
But that's a fair question. It's a very fair question.
That's just
so Jared. Oh, you can go, Robert.
No, go for it. You first.
Jared, besides just, building CEOs and kind of like getting to the top of number 3 on Google search, which is honestly really, it's like great for being someone who has started a company in 3 months. How do you take the stuff that you've learned over the years and use that to pivot your specific company for right now, as far as like what work do you put in to prepare yourself for when COVID-19 ends? Like, what is the work you're doing now, so then later on you can reap the benefits of having this time to really work on your company?
Yep. So we're actually, despite everything happening in the macro environment, we're actually staying quite busy, I must say. A few things. So one, we're trying to pivot to any pro bono outreach that we can do. So working with clients so they're not clients yet, working with a potential client, a lead that we've actually spoken to in the past about an engagement, and just coming up with creative ways that we can work with them starting sooner than later, that also financially and is sensitive to them and sensitive to their own cash flow, which at the moment might not be positive. So we're telling potential clients, look, let's start now. Let's start talking about your content strategy. Let's start talking about SEO. Let's start talking about your brand, and we'll work out the payment and the fee structure later. That's less important. Obviously for us as a new business, it's important for us to stay relevant and stay engaged with the industry and our clients. Everyone knows that this will end. That's the one sure thing in all this, is that this will end. When and how, we don't know, but it will end. People will travel, people will start spending money on marketing, and no one wants to be left behind. And I think as the fear factor of the initial and the immediate health crisis starts to slowly dissipate based on where you live, then I think most marketers and most business people will start to think, okay, how am I positioned for the recovery? And we don't know what that recovery will look like, but again, we know that there will be one. So we're just trying to tell clients, hey, look, this is not the time to stop marketing. This is not the time to crawl into a hole. This is the time to be out there and have a voice and think about things you can do now to prep yourself for, the future. So we did a webinar actually last Friday. I'm losing track of days. Last Friday with a software platform called Peak. And on that call were small and medium-sized businesses. We had about 200 people on the call, and they all they're all travel companies to some extent. Most of them run small walking tour businesses, or they might own a cruise company, a small city cruise company in various places of the world. So their business has been impacted enormously. But they also know that this will end, and they want to know, okay, what can I be doing now? So we kind of walk them through a few steps operationally in terms of looking at their cost and their pricing and making sure that they're not just the first thing people do usually in a crisis is they discount. And discounting is a nice tool to have, but it shouldn't be your primary focus from a revenue perspective. Because of course, once you discount, it's hard to actually get your price back up to the original retail level. So we were just sort of talking them through things like that and other aspects of the recovery on the marketing side, such as how to prepare your website for the recovery. Everyone is busy. Entrepreneurs especially are just so busy in the day-to-day operations that most of us have a laundry list of just back office stuff that we want to do. That blog post you want to write, that new page you want to get up, whatever it is. Well, guess what? Now's the time when you don't have the excuse, I don't have time, because everything has slowed to a halt. So I think there's a lot, if people were honest, if founders and business owners were honest with themselves and they looked at how much time they have because they're not operating day to day, and where they want to be in 6 months, I think they can actually get very creative and come up with a list of stuff that they could do now.
That's great. I just wanted to let Christian know, since you're on, you can join the chat. You can either put it in the chat if you don't want to talk, or just open your mic up and ask Jared a question. But yeah, this is just an open forum. Just ask your questions and we'll keep going. So Robert, Christian, if you have a question.
Sweet. No, yeah, I was sorry for coming in late. Just I wanted to hear stuff and sit in and everything. But
yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, actually, quickly, just from Robert and yourself, Christian, what's your business, or kind of what's your, what keeps you busy?
Yeah. I guess I'll just start with it. But so we actually just last week we launched our mobile app, which is exciting. But basically, it's called Pocket Change, and the concept of what it is you see all these things online, right? Social media posts, news about things like climate change, immigration, especially now COVID, all that sort of stuff. We're a way to instantly take action on that. So as you're scrolling through, say, your Instagram, you can click share and click Pocket Change, and it'll use AI to analyze what that text is talking about, and it'll predict out 3 causes you might want to take action on. And to say if I want to take action on COVID-19, I can just click that, and in pops up the #1 charity tackling that, and I can instantly give 25 cents to $2 to that organization. So long story short, you can see something under 5 seconds, instantly take action without ever leaving your current screen.
Wow.
So,
interesting, man. So how are you pulling in your charity? Are you using Charity Navigator, like they have an API, or how are you pulling in all that, the actual profits?
So we use GuideStar and Charity Navigator, but we've had an in-house team do tons and tons of endless hours of charity selection research for every cause area. So we've got about 75 different causes at the platform, and ultimately we have a process to come down to a top 1 charity per each cause, which hits on a couple different metrics and goes through a process of its own. But yeah, so that way you as a user can just, you don't have to know all the different everything, you can trust we've done that process for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so it's in-app only, so it's not mobile web. It's just if you're, how does the actual user interface work? Yeah, go ahead.
So basically you download the app, but it operates as a share extension on your mobile device. So say if I'm on Instagram, it's kind of going to be a little bit scrappy here with this this mode, but yeah, say if I'm on Instagram, if I go up to these three dots here, I click this and share to, you'll notice this tray pop up. So anything that you can theoretically send as a link, if you click the pocket change button, that's where it'll load up. Oh, wait, I've got my thing signed out. We're just doing testings. But yeah, basically this pop-up comes, click confirm, pop-up goes away.
So as a user, you have to be cognizant that you have the app downloaded. It's running in the background. I'm on a piece of content on an app. I click share to, and then I have to basically opt in to have the app read the content that I'm reading.
Yeah. So it's basically in that click, instead of sending it as a text message, it just has a little pop-up that says like, this is talking about Zero Hunger. Click confirm on Zero Hunger, and then you're still within Instagram.
Very cool. And you guys have launched, it's out there.
Yep. As of about, I guess officially probably about 2.5 weeks ago, but we announced publicly last week. And so we've been working on this for about 3 years, and we have a Chrome extension out that we've had out for about a year. So it operates similar thing where we basically plug in a button on all your different news sites or search places, and but that's where we started. And so we're currently here. But I guess even to kind of go down a little bit of a question route within you and marketing and stuff, the ultimate plan is we take 0% of any donations. We simply put want to do advertising on the app, but we actually want to do it in kind of this whole new way around cause marketing. So basically using, whether it be companies, it's no longer a trend nowadays to have some kind of social alignment in your business or brand, but it's very much a necessity, and people are trying to show that to consumers or whoever it might be. So we are a platform perfectly designed to where you can actually, people are coming to engage with cause-oriented content or show that like those actionable clicks. And that's the moment to kind of pop in either donation matching or affiliated kind of like cause marketing sales pieces. But I kind of wonder what thoughts are there, because we're not currently focused on revenue or getting that built in yet. But as we begin to expand out on user base, that's sort of the next steps of how we actually turn it into a,
I think that's
efficient business.
Very smart. No, I think that's very, very smart. I think you're certainly, like you said, you're capitalizing on this macro trend, which is cause marketing, and everyone wants to give back in some way. And most companies realize, whether they're doing it for all the right reasons, it has to be a part of their CSR strategy. Some companies are doing it where it's really ingrained in everything they do. Others, they're just sort of putting a sign out on their front step, so to speak, for PR. But hey, if it means that money is going to the right causes, so be it. So could you white label your product? If I'm going to use an example from travel, since that's kind of the industry I know the best. If I am an adventure travel company and I run trips to Peru, and I have 1,000 travelers that I send down there every year, and I know that there's a few NGOs or whatever nonprofit that I want to give my clients an easy way to give back to, can I use your product to facilitate that transaction?
So at a large level, yes. As our current focus, no. So that kind of leans into potentially us either kind of giving our button or our kind of payment or profile technology basically to different companies, which again, we kind of could do in long term, we'd want to do. But the current vision now is more that, say, like a Patagonia, for example, they obviously it's built in hugely into their brand, and then they also give tons of money. But say if they took a chunk of that money they already give, and anytime that I say I'm maybe one of your travel people going to Peru, and I'm seeing a bunch of posts about Peru, and then I click pocket change, and pops up land conservation. When I click on land conservation, that's when Patagonia's logo pops up as well to say, like, hey, Patagonia has a $200,000 campaign going right now. Like, they're going to match your donation in this. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Patagonia is helping land conservation. Kind of go from a user end. That's the whole experience. from a brand, they're taking some pre-existing budget they've already spent, and now they're able to just get it as like a much more positive reinforcing click engagement at a much cheaper rate than buying Facebook or Google ads, basically. So like that's kind of the concept, is bring in brands so that when people are actively focused on different cause areas, that's the moment the brand says, hey, we care about that cause too.
Right. So that would require, I like the idea. So that would require the brand already having a pretty in-depth strategy in place where they're already supporting a cause that you have in your database, right? Or would you actually add, if I'm a company and I say, hey, we have a program where we donate X, Y, and Z to three nonprofits, and they're not in your database, would you add them for me?
Again, long-term, yes. Current state, no. So because we're doing the microtransactions, that's where we were able to operate on those, because we can batch payments and send them out to our selected ones. The one problem comes with, like, if there's that one-time gift to one charity, and we have that's 125 cents, we're like going to lose money on that, basically.
Yeah.
But in the long term, we actually do want to enable that. And even from the side of a little bit more charitable consulting, for if you're, say, a local Denver company, like, well, we want to help, we don't know where to give, we can kind of go and be like, hey, well, we've got a great org for this, we're partnered with them in this way, we can set up like a campaign where you support them on the website, people can do it with you, and then on our app we can have that, like, you slotted in to match donations there or something. So that's another concept too, is like, if we're starting with smaller companies, which seems to be what's probably going to be happening, how do we actually provide value in more than just the matching, but like maybe it is helping them select, or we're going to set up a whole campaign for them or something too.
I think more on, I think your power comes in your technology that you've built.
Mm-hmm.
And without, in just hearing your 5-minute pitch, I think it's an interesting product. I've never heard of anything like it. I'm sure that there's something else like it that you might know of, but I mean, I've never come across anything. So well done. No, and I mean, I think it's great. I think how you get traction, and whether it's from the consumer side or the B2B side, I personally believe that revenue wise, once you start thinking about revenue, B2B is the way to go. And to your point around COVID, I mean, this is, it's not going to be, unfortunately, it's not going to be the last crisis. The world is burning, the world is flooding. Fortunately, this is going to be happening more and more. So I'm not saying that's why you're doing it, but I think it's you start to talk with investors, unfortunately, you are providing a necessary solution to a problem that you didn't make yourself. So, but yeah, no, I think if you can figure out how to white label this and how to basically license your technology to facilitate this, not to say you can't have your own brand and that you can't to run that, but I think there will be companies, certainly in certain sectors like the travel business, like retail, you mentioned Patagonia, outdoor retail, certainly where people really care about the environment and conservation. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. So anyway, I'm happy to talk more with you about it. I'm actually fascinated by it. So thanks for the TED Talk. Yeah,
we can have here Robert's got going too.
Yeah.
Oh, I got nothing like that, guys. I'm very, very early in my planning stage. So, but I honestly just wanted to call in to hear more about what everyone else is doing, and just kind of learn and absorb. So that was the main reason why for me. I have ideas, but that's about all they are.
Hey, that's where it all starts, right? So that's where it all starts.
If you have anything else to say, we can wrap it up here. I mean, I have a few more questions if you want to go through them, but I mean, you really kind of summed up like what you do and kind of like how the climate currently is affecting it, but also giving opportunity to grow new businesses, especially this Pocket Change one. Being part of Project Xsite, I heard a little bit about it, but Christian, that was a really great pitch, and I downloaded it. So, if I ever see something on Australia wildfires, I will definitely be sure to use it. I think this is a great opportunity for everyone to take charge and use the time wisely. Do you have anything else to say, Jared, or do you have anything else to input on?
I mean, not specifically. I'm happy to answer anyone else's questions, either from yourself, Amani, or from you guys, whatever. Open to
I
anything.
guess just a little bit, just because I missed kind of the first part. Do you have just like a little bit more brief background of yourself too? And I saw some of the description stuff, but I guess just a little more on what you do, because I do have a couple of questions on to some more marketing thoughts we've had that maybe you could just kind of give your 2 cents on and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I'll give you the quick 30-second version. So I've been a marketer for 15 plus years, both on the agency side, on the client side. In terms of my sector, I'm kind of a specialist now in travel, although I've also worked in technology and startup outside of the travel space. I'm a 2-time co-founder, so I'm on my 2nd company now. The first one is called Stride, and it's a meta search. It's basically a kayak for any sort of multi-day adventure tour. So if you want to find that trip to Peru, what do you do right now? Or before Stride, you would go on Google and you'd search and you come up with 18 pages of search results. And how do you kind of start? So it's basically a mashup of Kayak and TripAdvisor, where we're giving a curated but very wide inclusive list of all sorts of trips to Peru, and then you can read reviews, and then you can pick the trip that resonates most with you. So that company's still going. I stepped out of the day-to-day a few years back, and then Wildebeest, me? No.
Oh, that's me, yeah.
Wildebeest is a very different type of company from a startup perspective, because we haven't really built, there's no product necessarily to build, because we are a marketing agency. So we provide content marketing, organic strategy, digital strategy, and brand services to clients, mostly in travel and tourism, but also in lifestyle. And we're starting to potentially look outside of travel, given everything going on. So I started that. Really, we just launched back in January with my co-founder, Tom. And we got off to a very hot start, and things have since, slowed a little bit, but we're pretty optimistic. I think we're well positioned. We're very, very nimble and flexible, and we're very lean. We don't have a lot of costs. So I think we'll be able to just, keep things in check and kind of ride this out. So my background really is in marketing, but also I have the tech influence, having been in the industry for a while. I've gone through the funding process. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. Because then even there with kind of a follow-up question, again, we're kind of in that space where, especially like you said, outdoor retailers are a lot of times trying to show their different CSR methods, or whether small or large. Where do you see, like, I guess, shortcomings, or like what people are currently already doing in that place? So say like with going kind of kayak travel company, it's like, I'm sure there is languaging and natural content around environmental stuff. But what do you see as like sort of shortcomings, or where something like our technology or service with the charitable stuff could best fit? Like,
it's a good. This is another topic that would take its own hour. So I'll brief. But and I need to be careful how I say this, because I know this will be posted. There are, just like there are in the bigger business world within travel and the outdoor industry, there are companies who truly get it, and their ethos is very much built on responsible travel. And responsible travel can mean a lot of different things. It can mean being environmentally responsible, socially responsible, making sure that your revenue stays in the communities that you visit, versus you just extracting value from an area and not getting much back.
Yeah.
So Intrepid Travel, who is one of my former employers, Intrepid is perhaps the best example. And I mean this not because I work there, but because it's absolutely true. If you look at what they're built on, you look at the foundation and their values and the way they train their staff, both in the office and on the ground, they are responsible travel through and through. And they're one of the originators of the entire concept. And they've really taken it to the next level. They actually have their own nonprofit foundation that has donated, I think over the years, I mean, I want to say up to like 5 million they're an Australian company, so 5 million Australian dollars. It might even be more than that. So they've taken the whole notion of responsible business to a different level. On the other side, again, staying within travel, there's companies who know that they should have some aspect of CSR ingrained in their culture, but they haven't really figured it out yet. So they might just, they might do a quick and somewhat lazy version, which is they pick a cause, they don't really give it much thought, they put up a landing page on their website so that on the outside, for PR purposes, they can say, oh, well, look, I give back. And you see that a lot in travel. So it's,
Jared, can you quickly explain what a CSR is for for the overall when we post this?
Yeah, so corporate social responsibility. So it's just the whole notion of that a company does not exist just to extract value and give it back to their shareholders, but that they are there to benefit the greater good. And that can be societal good, environmental good, human good. So, there's a lot of different companies that have very, very well thought out programs in the world of CSR. And then there are those that don't. And usually, look, it takes time and it takes investment. And it takes having someone internally to guide it and guide that thinking. Usually it's not the CEO or even the COO who sort of takes on that role. You need a specialist. So yeah, does that answer your question, Christian? I don't know if I went off on a tangent there.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of my question, but even within to like go one level deeper. So say something like Intrepid Travel, right? That's the first one you mentioned.
Intrepid,
yeah. So if they actively are, because that's almost what we're trying to like separate the two and bring on the right people. But like if everyone can just throw up a landing page, right, or say, hey, we give back, we've donated X amount, how do we really differentiate something like Intrepid being so good at the root of what they're doing? And first off, us getting even like in proper, cohorts with those kind of companies, so that way we can kind of start to build out some sort of like partnership stuff. Or I guess it's sort of like, it's easy to like be this kind of whitewash of all the companies saying, hey, we're good. And how do we actually get in with the right people and even start those conversations? Because if they're obviously trying to do those kind of things, like we're trying to set up the platform to market that product.
I think, and this is just my quick thinking on this, is that you might not even want to go after the Intrepid type companies who really have a great understanding of it, because they have such a well-oiled machine on their end that, they would see, I'm not saying they wouldn't see any value, they probably would, but they might see less value than a company that has a plan on paper. I know they need to be doing this, but they haven't actually executed upon it yet. To where you can say, look, we're going to take the pain away from you. We're going to do it all for you. We have this database of NGOs and nonprofits all over the world. We've already vetted them. We've done the research, right? We've built the tech. That to me, if I'm like the head of CSR at another company, and I just stepped into my role 3 months ago, and I've been tasked with building out this whole strategy, and then you come and say, hey, look, I can do this for you. Then I'm like, this is amazing. So I think it's targeting and having a business dev strategy and outreach program that finds and targets those companies who have very good intentions, and they have it, either in their head or on paper, but not actually out there in the world yet.
Yeah. I'm just writing this down too.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Yep.
But yeah, I think in terms of industries, I think the outdoor industry is a great place to start. Did outdoor retail, are you familiar with that trade show? I think they moved it.
I'm familiar with it, although I haven't outdoor retail. Deep dive.
It's kind of like, it's actually an amazing show, because if you like the outdoors, which I imagine living in Denver you do.
We dabble.
Yeah. So if you're like me and you geek out on gear and the best 3-layer shell, OR, outdoor retail, it's where the North Face and every gear company is there, and it's a B2B trade show. They used to have it in Salt Lake City, and I think a few years ago they moved it to Denver. So it's once a year. I don't know if they'll have it this year with everything going on. I think it's in the spring. I forget when it is. You can look it up. Anyway, outdoor retail would be a good one, potentially to look at for you.
Yeah, to
If
kind
that
of
is,
just go and start making
yeah,
some
you have to buy
introductions, see
a
if
pass.
like show demos, kind of see what's happening basically.
Yeah, well, I would try and, so for any event, what I've learned, having gone to a fair few and wasted money at a lot of them, is that the ones that cost money are usually the ones worth going to. So, you know, fortunately, unfortunately, it does take a little bit of cash to get in the door. But the way that you make it worthwhile is before you even show up, you have a hit list and you've already reached out to all these people. And you said, hey, I'm going to be there. I want to schedule 10 minutes. Can we meet during this coffee break? Can I meet you at your booth? And like, you just have your target list. So you're not walking in cold.
Yeah, like yeah, because we've been on the field for a little bit now, with almost like kind of 3 years of trying to work with this. But yeah, there's always that little bit like it helps to go to these things, but then it's always kind of like how much it fully comes to fruition or whatnot.
Yeah.
And we've always lacked on the full product suite, so it's been harder. But now is when, I guess in the coming months, as we start to do that more, figure out how to do that right is basically our goal.
Yep.
Wow, so this was really great. I just wanted to let you know that we only have 6 minutes left, but I'm sure you guys can probably connect, get more on this whole wavelength of, you know, marketing and CEOs and SEOs and just all of this amazing information. But I just wanted to let everyone know we're wrapping up. So if you have any last words, Jared, that'd be great. But yeah.
No, thanks for having me again. It's been really good meeting some of the entrepreneurs in Denver. Need to make it back there before too long. The city has changed, as I hear, as has the campus. I'm jealous actually that I didn't get to experience the massive growth and new buildings. But yeah, it's been really great, and all the best to everyone out there. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you, Christian, again for your great questions and really pushing this conversation forward. I'm going to end it here. You guys can start leaving. Just thank you again.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yep.
And I guess just, Jared, what's your email too? Or is it on the Excite thing? Maybe I could just shoot you an email real quick or something.
Yeah, are you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Let's connect on LinkedIn, and then
cool.
we can share details. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Amani.
Have a nice day, guys.
Thank you.